You know, the first half of the month has gone quite a bit slower than I anticipated. Hey everyone, welcome back to Andrew's Wizardly Reads, and as always guys, I am Andrew, and today guys, we are doing the mid-month wrap-up. Before we get into that, please like this video and subscribe to the channel, as it does help the channel grow, and you can check the description box down below for links to all my social media, including information about my Patreon, links to the Discord, what have you. It's all there for you to explore. Now that said guys, it's been an interesting kind of month so far. Basically, here, it rained for 4 days, and I guess like I am now of the age where if it rains for too long, I just get sleepy. And so usually I do my physical reading right around 10 or like 11 o'clock. And I was finding by like 10:15, I was just dead tired for like 4 or 5 days straight while it was raining. So I haven't gotten as much physical reading done as I wanted to. I'm actually behind. I have DNF'd some books. I finished some books. And I'm still working on some books, so we're going to talk about all of that. Let's get into the DNFs first. We got about halfway through Seeds of War by João F. Silva. And there's nothing particularly wrong with this book. I'm not DNFing it because it's bad or I don't like it or anything. I got about halfway through, and I'm just not invested in the story. We follow 3 different POVs. It's kind of First Law-esque. And I don't know, I was reading it, and I was reading it, and I was reading it, and things are interesting. I like the magic system, I like the world, but for some reason, I just wasn't sinking into the story, and I wasn't gripped by what was going on. So by the time I reached about the halfway point, I just kind of put it down. So unfortunately, the first DNF is Seeds of War, but not because it's bad, just because, it could be because I was tired, but unfortunately, this one just didn't end up working for me. Love that cover art, though. Look at that cover art. It is gorgeous. Then I got about 10% into Dawn of Wonder by Jonathan Renshaw. And again, expectation is a bad thing. And I expected a big, chunky book like this to not be YA. And so when I opened it and realized it's YA, it wasn't quite my speed. Again, not poorly written. The characters are interesting. The world is interesting. It's just not quite my speed. It just wasn't quite working for me. Again, I wasn't pulled in. And I found at least the first section incredibly predictable. But the writing is well done. The characters are well executed. It just wasn't quite my thing. So unfortunately, this is also a DNF. However, with these, I'm not removing them from my collection. I'm actually starting a small collection for my kids that I'm going to set off to the side. And if I think books are well written, that includes Seeds of War and Dawn of Wonder. Did I say that right? Yeah, Dawn of Wonder. I'm going to set those off to the side, and when my kids are old enough, and if they become readers, I want them to have these books to explore and hopefully grow a love of fantasy. So Seeds of War and Dawn of Wonder are going into that collection. And then another one that I ended up just not vibing with is Devin Erickson's Theft of Fire. Again, gorgeous cover art. And actually, the writing in here and the science fiction kind of elements are just very well executed. I had some small problems. Both of the main protagonists are wildly unlikable. And so I couldn't vibe with either of them. I couldn't sympathize with either protagonist. And there was a lot of, dropping of a specific company. I could understand a few mentions per chapter, but, there was, 10 to 15 mentions per chapter of SpaceX, which is Elon Musk's company. And I was like, okay, I can understand you wanting to, pay homage and maybe the companies come forward in the future. But, I found it very distracting because, there were sometimes it happened 2 to 3 times a page that SpaceX was mentioned. And after I got about 2 to 3 chapters in, I was like, you know what, that's probably enough for me. And I just found that specific element incredibly distracting. So I have DNF'd Theft of Fire. But the writing is very good, and I think the science fiction elements are probably very well done. It kind of reminded me of The Expanse. So if you've been kind of craving a little bit more Expanse, I know James S. A. Corey has a new book coming out. But yeah, this kind of might scratch that itch for you while you wait for that release. All right, Now, what I have finished. I just finished this morning The Third Kingdom by Tao Wong. This is the start of the third arc, I believe, in 1000 Li, and I just really, really enjoyed this entry in Wu Ying. It's a little lighter. It's more of like Wu Ying has come to another kingdom, thus the Third Kingdom, and then there's a tournament that he participates in, and at that tournament, there's a murder mystery. And I just kind of enjoyed the simplicity of this story. Again, I always enjoy Wu Ying's kind of exploration of his cultivation. This was just a solid adventure story. I loved it. Loved it. A new all-time favorite book of all time. All-time favorite book of all time. I don't know why I said it like that, but we've got Dandelion Wine by Ray Bradbury. And if you've been kind of following the channel over the last couple of weeks while I've been talking about Dandelion Wine, it just kind of hits in that nostalgia where, like, I don't know, like, it takes me back to being a kid, looking forward to summer and the magic that was summer. But as I get older, we have some older protagonists in here as well. Or I guess I should say not protagonists, but point of view. They kind of look back on life and they kind of analyze life either in their 30s or in the twilight days of their life and what really matters, what it means to live and to cherish and love. All of that is captured here in Dandelion Wine. And of course, this copy is also signed. Don't try and secure a copy of this. I got very lucky and scored this for like $50, but normally they go for double that. So yeah, I am very happy to have this in my collection. It will be a cherished part of my collection forevermore, and I love everything about this. It takes place in the summer of 1928, and it was just so incredibly good. It's actually a collection of short stories that kind of stitches together across an entire summer in a fictional town of Greentown, Illinois. Then I finally finished the duology of Raven's Blade. I've had this on my shelf for about 2 years, and while I liked Wolf's Call more, Black Song still kills it. I gave this one about 4 stars. Man, like, oh, speaking of stars, 4 stars, obviously 5 stars. If I could give this more than 5 stars, I would. And then 4.5 stars. And man, Black Song, it's like kind of an end to Valen's story, but at the same time, like, it's left a little open-ended. And it's a little bit more brutal of a Valen story than I'm quite used to reading and kind of digesting. But man, like, I loved the sort of, like, there's another training montage, like he has to kind of be retrained after the events that end on, how am I trying to say this? After the end of Wolf's Call, he has to kind of get a little bit more training. He goes to a monastery, cool stuff like there. Obviously, we've got Darkblade versus Darkblade. I love it. This one was a very solid end to the duology, if that made any sense whatsoever. I then read The Providence Writer by Robert McCammon. This is book number 4. I've been meaning to read this for going on about a year now. I'm very happy that I've read this one. This is what I would consider about a flawed masterpiece. I'd give this one also a 4, maybe a 4.5 stars, because the premise at this point in the series doesn't quite make sense. Basically, if you know who Professor Fell is, he is called on Matthew, and that doesn't quite make a lot of sense because this feels like an issue that, like, Professor Fell could handle himself. I don't know why he's reached out to Matthew. I've been told it might make sense the further I get into the series, but as of right now, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and, like, I didn't love the last couple pages. Like, Matthew does a thing that I'm just like, stop doing that. Like, why do you keep pushing people away? I don't know. But, yeah, Matthew, again, is just fantastic. I love this historical fiction series. I don't know if I agree with it being historical suspense. I would say, like, I guess it's like suspense / horror. There's some messed up stuff in this book, but still very, very well written. And then I finished The Krakens Tooth. This is my second Anthony Ryan book that I read. Do novellas count as full-blown books? I don't know. You tell me in the comments down below. I think that they do. But, you know, feel free to give me your opinion. Krakens 2 is The Seven Swords, book number 2. And I really enjoyed this one. I gave this one, again, 4 stars. Mainly because the first kind of like section was a bit rough. Because we went from a certain character being called Pilgrim to then being called by their actual name by everybody else. Except for one other person who continues to call him Pilgrim. So the kind of name kind of switching between that kind of confuses me. Like, I don't know, sometimes I struggle when like, oh, this is this person, and this is also this person. Let's just both call them both names. And I'm like, nah! I don't know. I struggle with that sometimes. But very cool story, very short. I don't know. I'm really enjoying this story. It kind of feels kind of horror-esque, maybe a little bit from Soft Games, Lovecraftian kind of fantasy environment. It's really, really interesting. And I kind of liked where this one ended and how the adventure is kind of unfolding. And then what am I still currently reading? I am currently reading Your Blood and Bones. I kind of picked this one up on a whim after all the DNFs that I had. I was like, you know what? I need something short. I need something that I'm going to really enjoy. And Your Blood and Bones, I've been wanting to try out J. Patricia Anderson for quite a while now. She sent this one to me along with Daughters of Tith, which is much longer. So I kind of wanted to try her writing style first. And so I reached for the short novella. And this has been fantastic. I'm about 43% through this. We've got 2 unnamed protagonists. We've got a little bit of body horror going on here. We've got a little bit of suspense, but I still love the writing. The writing has been absolutely beautiful. I'm thinking about doing a dedicated book review for this one. I've never done a dedicated book review for a novella, I don't think, but I think I might be doing one for J. Patricia Anderson's Your Blood and Bones. Like, let's just get in on that cover. It's got like a raven in the water. Ugh, I love this one. Yeah, I've been loving that. And I'm still working on the Hera Interviews by Andy Ewington. This is a chunker. This is not as long as you would think. It is kind of like transcripted with hundreds and hundreds of footnotes. Like each page has a footnote. So that is kind of fun. If you're going to read this, you can do it on ebook. It is available on Kindle Unlimited. You just have to constantly click into the footnotes or like read them all at the end of the chapter. Some of them kind of jump pages. Some of them open up on the page. But I kind of prefer the physical copy because, I mean, the footnotes are on the page right there at the bottom. So that's kind of going to be my suggestion if you want to read the Hera Interviews. You can do it on ebook, but this is probably the superior format. I have heard a snippet of something that involves Guy Adams. It was on SoundCloud or something like that, and that was pretty cool. So if this gets a full-on audiobook, that could be really, really interesting. Like, there was like a sound effect of like a scribe writing on parchment. That was kind of really cool. I really like that. And of course, I'm still working on A Blade for Hire by Christopher D. Brand. I have not moved in this one in quite a while. Like I said, I lost a lot of reading time to just the rainy weather. And like by the time I would start reading, I would make it like 3 or 4 pages and just be like, just out, just tired, like exhausted from my day. So I don't know. Anyway, that is my mid-month wrap-up. That's what I'm currently reading. That's what I've read. And that's what I've DNF'd. That's all I've really got for you today, guys. So till next time, peace out. Stay magical. Bye. And as always, I want to give a huge thank you to my patrons. Thank you for supporting my passion and my hobby.